based on the fact that they say there's money available. So when you allocate your money, you base it on that money that you received. 9 months or 6 months later, the same students that you have funded from that upfront money, because we waited almost 6 months to get a remittance to see who is supposed to be on that list. Then you find that half the students, and you get an indication that these students are now unfunded. And as the previous speaker said, NSFAS do have the information. We do not have HUMIS data. So we trust NSFAS that the information they're giving us is correct. Now the information is not correct. They don't pay us the money. We end up paying landlords. We end up paying allowances, and it's millions of rands. And NSFAS said, we're not going to pay for them. Now, where do NSFAS think the institution must get the money now that it has been paid? And what is happening then in this case, most of these students cannot afford to pay the institution. They cannot afford, and then we end up handing such students over, and 2-3 years later, we write off the money. That's a big loss to institution. We cannot carry such debt. It will cripple the institutions in future. And that is something that really needs to be looked at. And when they spoke about it now, to say we're going to look at how we allocate upfront, that is a serious matter. We need really to know how. And the remittances must come out much earlier. Because they put us on a spot to say, by the 15th of March, we want your templates. We go out of our way giving them the templates, but you receive the remittance 6 months later. And you don't know who to pay. And then the only thing they say, sorry, the student not funded. And there's nothing we can do about it. That is not the on for the institutions. Thanks very much.
Thank you for that question, Wade. Colleagues, can I just ask a favor? Somebody on the floor, please, can we just have one meeting, so that we can concentrate on the main thing here. I saw some hands.
5.
Is the 5 done? Freeman, are you ready? I know you're always ready. A lay preacher must.
The part of the corporates that need that one to help, if there's any role we can play, I would appreciate. We're still here today and tomorrow, so we can figure out. Sfiso, because you're making reference to specific communication. First, let me tell a story. Some years ago, I was engaged in this endeavor, which was going to solve problems for a certain municipality. But the politics were that we were not wanted. Because we were not wanted, people told us how bad we are. So I said to my team, I'm going to ask for all of the bad things we've done. And we'll have a meeting where we take off the gloves, we have a proper fist fight, bone to bone, so that once we've fought and whoever wins or fails, we now know where your place is. That's how we used to solve problems in the past. You get out there, you battle it out. From that day onwards, when you speak with a lot of respect because you know. So I called this meeting and then we sit there. They raised 24 issues that were the things we did wrong. There was somebody very senior in the room. So they outlined all of the 24 things in the meeting. So I started with issue number 1. Issue number 1, I asked my team, come. They answered, they provided evidence. Issue number 2, they answered, they provided evidence. Issue number 3, when we got to issue number 18, the senior person in the room said, there was not a single thing that these people had said that was correct. Not one. When we got to issue number 18, the senior person said, no, we're going to waste time in this meeting. Can I meet with my team separately so that I can find out of the 6 remaining items? Is there something I can beat you for? And the truth of the matter was there was nothing. Now, when you have an impasse that we are having between NSFAS and institutions, it's easy for people in NSFAS to say to me, this is what Eguruleni East is done. But when I meet Sfiso at Eguruleni, it's easy for Sfiso to say, this is what I have done, and your institution is bad. I've lived through this in my life. Even my life as accountant general. We started having meetings with Auditor General, which we called them fist fights. That was the framing of the meetings. So that we can come into the room and we don't hold anything back. We speak the way we feel. So I want to invite Sfiso that Hlachwayo is here and some people that are working on this issue. Can we sit with you and then you've already told everybody how bad we are. If in the meeting we find out that you're the one who's bad, we're not going to raise issues that we see as things that are happening, but we're not raising those to blame anybody. We raise them as observations. So what I pick up when I talk to my colleagues at NSFAS is that it's easy for them to say, so-and-so did not do this. I was talking to somebody the other day, he says, I sent it to IT 2 weeks ago. I said, no. And IT was sitting in the room. And I said, no, I don't care, I don't want to hear. After IT did not respond, what did you do? Did you follow up? Because it's easy to justify ourselves by blaming others. So, this is the thought that I want us to have. Because of the pressures we have and the limited appreciation of the challenges you face, we will say, let's do this thing by next week. You can come back to me and say, no, next week is not going to work. So I've made a mistake already by pushing you to next week, and next week is not going to work. But you can then come back to me and say, okay, next week is not going to work. Can we look at the week after? But that's me and you. Everybody else may be able to respond. And this is because the information we're looking for in a perfect world, and I want to preface that by that, in a perfect world, this information should be readily available. Because that's the information that you've processed as an institution. So let's figure out how do we find a way of working together. Yes, at times it's going to be a little bit painful, but let's do so. So the deadlines sometimes get set because we're thinking about ourselves, not so much about you. But they can be negotiated in some places. Millie, Hlachwayo is here. I think you will have to have a conversation with him around the CPUT. But, CUT, sorry. But while I accept that there is a sense in which we cannot be 100%, with technology we can. And that's what we should be aiming for going forward, because we've got specific information around how a student is funded and what student is doing and so on. We've got that information. So as an institution, you want, for every student that you have, you want to make sure that that student's obligation is accurate. So because you want to show that that student's obligation is accurate, you then give me that accurate information. That gives us 100%. But I know we are not there today. We need to be working together to get to that point. We should still aim for 100%, but then there will be some things that fall off in the periphery. What will happen with direct payments? We want direct payments that are properly direct payments. We then, in May, so for universities, we asked universities, I think as early as February, to manage that for us. We remained with TVET colleges, and it was painful. So we then using our banker. This thing should be a really basic thing. I was having a conversation with some colleagues over the weekend. This thing is a basic thing. A student applies for a bank account wherever. All NSFAS has to do is to tell its bank to send the money to the student's bank account. Simple. There shouldn't be any complication about this thing. You begin to create complications, you are creating opportunities for people to benefit. So direct payments, for as long as I have anything to do with it, will continue. Now, there was a question later that we're using universities are handling this, because we still are having an interdict. So one of the service providers that had won the so-called direct payment tender took us on interdict, Izaka, in fact, it's in the public space. So we do need to get over the legal processes and then come back and implement this properly. We are holding back because if we proceed now without the court processes being finalized, we are now in contempt of court. We would be in contempt of court, sorry. We would be in contempt of court. So it's the legal process that is delaying us there. The unfunding of students, I understand very well what you are saying there, Johannes, and we want us to get to that point. Now, there's a few categories. The one category, that's where our system was not working. The verification process and what your procedures were clear, the rules were clear, but the system failed us. In that, it's supposed to store the information that relates to financial eligibility and use that in interrogation, and that was not happening. We ended up with 11,000 students that were founded, just over 11,000 students that were founded incorrectly as a result of that. 377 of those students should not be funded at all because they fall outside of any of the criteria. The other balance, we've put a proposal, as I suggested in the conversation earlier, on how to deal with them, including the 377. But when it comes to HEMIS, we also have picked up that NSFAS connects to certain data in the institutions. But as I understand the detail, we're not connecting to HEMIS. So we need to connect to HEMIS, because if we connect to HEMIS, we're going to have correct information, and then it will eliminate the other problems. But HEMIS does get audited. When we mean business, the project team was meeting yesterday to discuss that issue. If you go outside here and you look at the provinces and how many TVET colleges are there for each province, we've got a criteria project team was working on that says minimum 10 institutions per province you're going to have offices. So Western Cape has got 10 institutions, Eastern Cape has got 12 institutions, and KwaZulu-Natal has got 13 institutions, Gauteng has got 15 institutions. The only other place that comes close is Limpopo, but Limpopo is reachable from Gauteng, so if you extend, you do that. Then Northwest, Mpumalanga, they are within 4 hours drive from Gauteng, so you probably can service them from there. The only two places that you need to think about is Free State and Northern Cape. Free State is 4 hours from Gauteng, probably you can do that, and then maybe you link Northern Cape with the Western Cape type of an approach. So why I'm going into that detail, I'm just illustrating that we've gone beyond just the preaching, education providers or student and leaders, but not NSFAS. And as we deal with all of the problems that relate to some of this funding or defunding, as well as onboarding, we then have to take the totality of the issues and go specifically on each case, which is why when it comes to SFISO, I'm saying SFISO, that's specific. I'm glad you raised it in this forum. Let's have an engagement on it. And I'm undertaking that I won't come back. So when I accept the points you're making, and we are looking into it, but there are other nuances in the case, not just NSFAS. But to the extent that the institution, believing NSFAS's information, took certain actions, we need to have an engagement on that and see how we resolve it. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. We have done a slight adjustment. Are there more questions at this stage? I'm still boldly looking at the time. So we still take one more round. Can we start then? Can we do it from the front right to the back and just run it through? You're going to get a microphone now. Go for it, yes.
Thank you very much. And good morning, colleagues. My name is Notlanhla Mabuza from UNISA. I just want to ask a simple question, Mr. That do you have a system at NSFAS, an IT system that is reliable and efficient? Because with the idols, I don't think that system is working for us at the institutions of higher learning. It's like just a system that was bought off the shelf, that is not designed to address the issues that keeps on coming with NSFAS. And the second one is the issue of regional offices. You have the call center that, for me, I don't want to use the word useless, but if that call center was actually working and capacitated, they could resolve lots of our issues. We have the service agents that, yes, they are assisting to a certain extent, and most of our issues were supposed to be addressed because there are a liaison between us and NSFAS. Now we're coming up with the regional offices. If the status quo in terms of communication between your internal staff is not resolved, that those regional offices, unfortunately, they won't serve a purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you can go.
Okay. This is Sipokazi Matanzima from the University of Free State. I would like to make a plea with NSFAS. On a monthly basis, we get exceptions, an exception list, which would have students that have exceeded N+, students that have exceeded income threshold, students that reapplied before migration. So these students will be blocked from getting allowances. But the status on the portal says Reg received. And these students fight us. Because also with the call center and the service agents, there's no synergy. The information that the service agents have and the information that the call center has is totally different. Students call, they get a different answer. They come back, they are sent to the financial aid office. They come to us and they fight us. And they're saying we're telling them lies. Can we please, those students that are on the exceptions list, can the status be corrected on the system? Thank you.
Thank you. Next person, Dani, you may go, and then we'll go to the back.
Dani Jeffer, Northwest University. This previous speaker touched on the point that I also want to make. Reapplied before migration. In 4 months, no one could explain to me what does it mean. Those students are stuck, we stopped their allowances, and no one tell us what's the way forward. Another one is the duplicate registrations. I don't know how one NSFAS staff member can confirm that the student did send the email to NSFAS, confirming he's at our university, while another staff member just refused to take them off from the exception list. That's a quick win. The students have done what we've asked them. Please just take them off the exception list and unlock the payment to the universities. And then we've got plenty of proof of students that submitting ITA 34 SARS documents to us that indicates that the income is well below the threshold. And please provide us a portal or something that we can submit those to NSFAS to investigate, because it can't be uploaded on the portal because the appeals is closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dani. Yes, Ntabise.
Good morning, colleagues. Ruth from TUT. I've got 3 or 4 questions. Number one, It's regarding the defunded group. We appreciate the initiative taken by NSFAS to try and assist the students, but we are 3 weeks away from the exams. Is it possible that we can get a timeline as to when will we get feedback on this group? We don't want students appealing next year because they were worried their fees are not gonna pay it. Please. The second one, it's regarding direct payment providers. In May, NSFAS paid money to Izaka to refund student allowances. We've got a group of students that never received the money. Now it's November, they're supposed to get their last amount, but they are requesting for the amount of May. Is there any planning, any strategy there to try and solve the problem? The third one, in May, April or May, NSFAS requested the university to pay accommodation providers on behalf of them because they were still sorting out their problems. When are we going to get the money back? We must remember whatever the university is paying, it's affecting our cash flow, which is the money that we use for operations. Lastly, I know somebody already talked about it, system update. Students defunded, but they are still appearing as registration received. Is there a possibility that students can be informed directly by NSFAS and not the university? Because what happens currently is the student comes to the university tells the student, you are excluded, you cannot be assisted at this stage, you have to wait. Then later the student calls NSFAS. NSFAS tells the student, you are funded, tell the university to do the right thing. The student goes to DHEAD. DHEAD sends the university an email saying, what is your problem? So whose problem is it actually? Can we try to update our system so that we can assist the student? And we must always remember, at the university, we don't say NSFAS University, we say we. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ruth. Go for it, Jay.
Morning, everyone. My name is Sinazwa from Walter Sisulu University. I hear that we want to move forward with no backfalls and so forth. I'm not sure at NSFAS you've noticed that you have automated applications for certain students. Now, students still can apply also on their own. I don't know on your side whether when there is an application, you can lock the system. Because this can help in avoidance with the issue that we came with, whereby students on exception reports, they will say that they applied before migration, of which the same scenario still goes back to where? To the service, to the call center. They tell the students, no, the university is still funded. So also on your side, please train your call center agents to consult. If they are not sure they're seeing this thing is being escalated, there's a student, whether there's a way of a student with a certain ID can be marked, and then when the student is still calling back with the same query, that needs to be marked and sent to the service agent if a call center agent cannot even answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Jay, is there another, Ntabi saying there's another person there? How many are we now? Five now. The last question, yes?
Good morning, colleagues. Most of the questions over there has already been captured. My name is Leroy Viljoen from Northlink College. I just wanted to ask NSFAS if they could make this very clear regarding the application statuses. Is there any way that NSFAS could perhaps create
You can go for it.
Is there any way that NSFAS could create a policy whereby they can create a time frame around the deadline of the finalization of an application status? The reason why I'm asking this is because we have students, not even from this year, from last year, at Northlink College, whereby the statuses are still on a waiting evaluation. And to be honest, it's very, very frustrating. We have about over 800 students that is still currently on the same status. So I'm not too sure if any of us could perhaps maybe create an internal policy where they can say the students they just want to know whether they approved or whether they rejected. So I think it is important that the student over there doesn't get to wait a whole year to find out that the NSFAS is not going to assist them. So if possible, if NSFAS can maybe just see what they can do around policy and also communicate that with the institutions as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take a last question. Nzigi.
Ntsikelelo Mthweku from NMU, not FAPSA now, FAPSA Exco. My question is regarding the loan system. It would be ideal to have the loan system finalized so that we can start knowing how to basically make funding available for the students that have applied for the loan system. I'm just worried about the time now, in October now, and there's literally only one academic month left before these guys can receive allowances, if they should be receiving allowances. So the guidelines concerning the loan applications need to be finalized so that we can start planning for next year. Also, regarding the loan system specifically, we need to update our IT system, our IT department regarding the absorption of these students now and making sure that our systems are in.
Sometimes I can see a student applying and I can make from the word go, that student is not going to qualify. And though the student somehow gets through the system and somehow come through the other side, and maybe by some miracle the student is displayed as funded, why would I not then take the boldness and tell the student, but you don't qualify, Wena? Now, I know you do, but there are others that don't. Because I find that time and again. So, there are information that are there, colleagues. Part of the solution is also if we can pass that information on also to students, if we can pass it on every platform where possible, so that when people are empowered in terms of information, they know how to use it, and we will eliminate a great deal of uncertainties. We need to eat the elephant bit by bit. I'm still in charge, is it? Freeman, go for it. No, I know we're pushing for time.
Yeah, the matters that relate to accommodation, I'm hoping the people who are supposed to present on accommodation are on their way, and they'll come and resolve that question. There's a general issue around statuses that I want to first address. We've given an instruction to the IT team because first there was multiple statuses that were showing for you guys. That we've got no business showing you all of those different statuses. What you're interested in is whether the student is now funded or not funded. And therefore, we're saying we need to streamline that so that at the end of the day, the only thing you are having access to is whether the student is funded or not funded. And then the communication with the student is an important piece. Nontlanta is asking whether the system is reliable or not. I said earlier on that the system was jumping up and down in the past. In other words, the status with the same data, the system will give you different statuses depending on which day you logged in. We've resolved that. While the statuses are still all over in terms of the actual statuses, the consistency of that information is something that we've said, let's have consistent status. And that means that you read the information from a specific source where that information is not changing, unless there's been new information introduced that results in a new status. Okay, so that piece we've dealt with. The piece around the multiplicity of statuses that we have is still an issue that we need to resolve, and we've instructed that only display that which matters to the stakeholder you're dealing with. The other piece is students are persistent. You make a decision based on the information you have that you are not funded, student says, here's additional information, you should fund me. So that student is going to continuously appear as awaiting evaluation because you've evaluated, decided, student brought back another appeal. So you do pick up those. If there is an awaiting evaluation without, because once you get to, if you're waiting for information from the student and you get to the end of the month, I think it's 30 days that you can wait for the information. After 30 days, you cut off that point. So it's an important issue to understand. The system has been problematic. The system as it is today still has some weaknesses. And some of the points you are raising are the points that either Farun, and he's going to come here to talk to the automated application thing, either Farun or the IT team are engaged in saying, clean that up, take that out, take that out, take that out. So, the issue of the regional offices are creating proximity to a warm body that's going to resolve the issue, that's going to take the issue for the student. Part of the problem now, people say there's no response at the call center, but there will be somebody, you can walk into an office and stay in that office until you get an answer. So there is value in the regional offices that will take away the issue of the call center. There are things that, once you stabilize the database of the information and the source from which the system reads is stabilized, you don't need a human body to answer the questions in today's environment. So we've created a chatbot already that our call center people can access and use, but also students can access and use. The communications team is in the process of final testing so that that can be rolled out across the board. So for all of the things that there's already information in the NSFAS system, there will be no need to phone anybody. You will have access through a WhatsApp process, which is data friendly. You will be able to access that information, ask questions on the system, and the system will give you the answers on all of that. That capability has been built, and it will release pressure from the call center and all of those things. Now, there's something that from outside frustrates you. From inside, we see where it comes from. We, in the past, had a lot of queries coming as a result of student allowances. By sorting out the student allowances, we've eliminated those. We now still have a lot of issues that relate to accommodation and late payment of accommodation and all of those things. Of accommodation, once you sort out how accommodation is managed within NSFAS, you're going to deal with that issue. I said in the presentation, there is a function at NSFAS that is important that nobody is doing. It's done as an additional activity to somebody. And that relates to that data interface between ourselves and institutions. That function, nobody is doing that currently. That's a big weakness. Because a lot of the other things we're talking about, while they are specific to a specific issue, if you sort out that function, you're going to create symmetry, information symmetry between ourselves and institutions. And by creating that information symmetry between ourselves and institutions, you resolve a lot of queries. You can go item by item. And if you go item by item, you're going to spend a lot of time. But dealing with this issue from a systemic point of view means that we create that function, we capacitate that function, and it will take care of a lot of the issues. A number of the issues that are being raised relate to do so. The issue of financial eligibility, we must remember that first. And yet, because of the nature of the problem that child is facing, NSFAS gets to be asked to deal with that issue. But NSFAS cannot deal with that issue. Because government has taken a position that if there's two parents that bring a child into this world, they are the primary sources of support for that person. So the issues of eligibility, if you deal with them in isolation of both parents, you will arrive at a different answer to what NSFAS arrives at. But it doesn't make NSFAS's answer wrong. It doesn't make your answer wrong that the student taught. It just makes your position wrong when you say NSFAS is supposed to support that student. Because NSFAS cannot. We would love to, but the legislation says we must only help people in a certain category. The question that Sinazo was raising, Faroon is going to attend to, and is probably going to reflect as well on some of the issues around statuses. But we've given a directive that we need to streamline the statuses that you see and the work that they are doing, that the instruction that is given to the team. The issue of the loan system, we do realize the pain that is caused. If we, the announcement was made when? In January, on that. And there was no prior warning that you need to prepare to get to that point. I think the team has been working hard to arrive at a point where we make the decisions. Yes, we've slipped. There's things that we could have done in April, May, and we did not do them in April, May. We've only finalized those things now. There's 1,320 or whatever students that we've sent information to institutions and said, please, we need this and that on those students so that we can proceed to fund. Of all the people that applied, only 1,300 odd are the ones that fall within the category. But even with those 1,300, because this thing is framed as a loan, you've got the National Credit Act that talks to responsible lending. Now, that infrastructure did not exist in terms of thinking like that because from 2017, we had done away with the loan approach. So you had to then go back to rebuilding that. The actual system that was supposed to deal with that was no longer at NSFAS at the time. So the team is working to resolve all of that, but the guidelines, I think Faroon will talk to them. They've now been, there's a lot of work that's been done, and Faroon will just update you on that. Faroon? Yeah, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I feel like I know you. I've seen you on Teams so often. Thank you for the questions. I think we must be very honest in our responses to you to tell you what works and what doesn't work, and together we can develop solutions. Now, let's talk about the statuses that you see first. The first thing you mentioned about statuses is that you have a reg received status for students who have, I wouldn't say been defunded, but are listed as incorrectly funded on your exceptions list. Is that the correct way of capturing that particular comment? Okay? So, it is absolutely true that we do not change the status of the system on the system to say incorrectly funded. It remains as reg received. I've taken note of your comments. My colleague from the contact center is probably with us as well. We will address them. The second comment was about automated applications. We have a system whereby we have new applications that come through. I checked the other day and we were sitting at about 319,000 applications. I will demo this for you a little bit later on to show you how we are live streaming, or we have we can capture the applications live. And that is one part of it. But if you click on another tab in that same dashboard, you will see the continuing students whose applications also appear there. Now, suddenly the number pops up to about almost 1 million. And you ask yourself why. And that's because the continuing students are being migrated, and those are the automated applications that you are seeing. I agree with you that it is confusing. I also find it confusing, but we have a way in which we can deselect those continuing students. That doesn't mean it solves the problem, okay? That is the system we have within our organization, where the continuing students are migrated, and when they are migrated, it's considered to be an application. All right, so that was the second point. And then the third one was about the policy on timelines. I must foreground my response with a narrative on realities. A lot of people know NISFES the following way, outside in. I think I know NISFES by now inside out. And I'm going to share something with you because I know you are frustrated. You are probably sitting with awaiting evaluation applications. You are probably sitting with missing documents. And I can tell you what these numbers are. They're high, okay? They're high. And I can tell you we have touched many of them. I'm using that word touched deliberately. We have processed them. Some of them loop in the system. We understand, not all. But I want to share with you what our limitations are. We have, and we have the manager here as well, Mr. Ndima, 29 caseworkers that work with him. They do 180 cases a day, each one of them. I've done the math, you can check it with your calculator as I speak. So they do, on average, 5,000 per day. In a good month, we can do up to 100,000, okay? Now let me give you the numbers. I've done projections for 2025. Based on 2023 and 2024, we are expecting only for non-SASSA, 750,000 applications. You take that and spread it across the year, because remember we closed applications this year on the 15th of February. I'm sure you can recall that, okay? You spread that over the year, how many do you think we can do? We do give them overtime, okay? We do have measures that we put in place. But simultaneously, out of the blue then we start dealing with appeals as well. The appeals just parachute in. And institutions want to know the outcomes of the appeals. And obviously, the students who have been rejected on the basis of academic progression want to continue. They will tell you, I have been ill for more than 2 months. I have been pregnant. I had a death in the family. Or a range of reasons. Valid reasons will not close, as in the conventional sense of closing. People will be working throughout the next 3 months, the rest of October, November, and December, and they will be working overtime as well. So that's what we commit to. But the policy on timelines, whoever asked that question, has to be informed by a realistic understanding of what our resource constraints are. We've addressed that through this interim plan, but going forward, we need to ensure that this plan is integrated into our process in perpetuity. I think then the next question was about loans. I must admit I was surprised by the question on loans. And I'll tell you why. And so the timelines are actually informed by both of us, not only by NSFAS. So together, we are waiting for the MOUs to come through from you. We are waiting for you to send to us the credit request form, together with the quotation agreement. We will then conduct the affordability assessment on the applicants. We will also do checks for N+. Remember, the N+1 only applies once throughout your academic career. You won't get a +1 for that second qualification. And the second qualification cannot be an undergraduate qualification if you already have one. It will be for a postgraduate qualification. We will also check your N+ to see if you are registered for a full-time for a master's degree, and that master's degree is 1 year, and you are in the 3rd year, obviously you have exceeded your N+, because N+1 is 2 in that case. So those are the kinds of validations that we will be doing. So we wait for you to come through to us with your submissions, and then we will process them. But I just thought, I had gone through this intensive process with you less than 2 weeks ago, and I was hoping we'd get follow-through in that regard in this meeting. But nonetheless, then the last question we had was the policies, loan procedures need to be defined. I gave to FAPSA, upon FAPSA's request for an SOP, we worked and we sent you a SOP within 2 days of our meeting with you. FAPSA also asked for me to do a letter to students outside of the purview of NSFAS, but it's fine. We all want the students to benefit from this. I wrote the letter for you. You all have the letter. I sent it through FAPSA. You've received the letter, sir. Mr. Manashe? Yes, Mr. Manashe received the letter. He was chairing the meeting at that point in time, and I sent it to him as per instruction in the meeting. It's been done. So we have done everything on our part to try and facilitate and expedite this process. We look forward to working with you on completing this process. If I've forgotten any of the questions, please remind me, and I will address them now. Anyone? Did I forget you? Good. Surety. Okay, that's a good question. So the surety concept, you know, my colleague is here, Vuyo. I know you know Vuyo. Vuyo is responsible for the policies at our organization, and she has worked on the loan guidelines for 2023, 2024, and the new one for 2025. The concept of surety is covered in the loan scheme guidelines for 2024 as follows. A surety can be a parent or a guardian. That's how it's covered. That's the definition, right? There was some discussion, and there was this issue about, no, the surety needs to be a non-blood relative. We've dismissed that thought. Okay, we went to the DHET, and they told us it's fine. It doesn't necessarily have to be a non-blood relative. It can be anyone. But what we need to advise our students when they fill in a quotation agreement, when they fill in the credit request form, and finally when they do the loan agreement form, is that the surety will have to go through an affordability assessment. So choose wisely when you choose a surety, so that the surety will pass the affordability assessment. Remember, it is a loan, and we are expecting the students to pay us back. But how many people in this room can tell me confidently that for all the loans we issued prior to 2017 at NSFAS, that we received 100% of the money back? Anyone? We did not. We're still trying to recover that money. So the DHET has built in this concept of surety, and we are aligning with that concept. Thank you. Anything else that I forgot? Tasneem?
If you take a 10K loan, your surety needs to earn, I don't know, 40K. We actually do need to be able to advise students. Otherwise, they're going to come to us with nonsense sureties.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the next question then. What is the ratio you need to use for a qualifying surety?
Thank you for that. Thank you. We will certainly take that into consideration. Is there any other point before I close? Thank you.
Yes, there is.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, sir. It's Mike Kwacha from UWC. Can I take you back on the issue that you have agreed that you do not have a capacity on?
Sorry, sir, we can't hear you clearly.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can I take you back to an issue that you have raised just now that you do not have a capacity on? That is an issue of the appeals. I might be wrong, but I think the question of appeals is best positioned at the universities. That's my suggestion. And if it's placed there, let me inform you that the way we were doing it, financial aid is involved in the process. The faculty concerned is involved together with the Student Representative Council. We look at the cases, we put a list back to NSFAS as a recommendation, because finally the decision resides with NSFAS. And that's the best process. But if you still wish you want to do it on your own, you will still delay these processes. So there'll be more problems on top of the problems. That's my suggestion. Thanks.
Thank you for that proposal. We have received that offer previously from UWC. The immediate plan is for us to process appeals by ourselves. And as you know, we've put in an elaborate plan together for applications to be processed. And we will be finalizing appeals as they come through as well. Thank you. Okay. Are we good?
I think we're done.
Okay. Thank you.
This phone? Thank you, Farron. Colleagues, I'm sure some of the issues will be interrogated in the commissions. We press for time, so without, sort of any formal way of sort of waving it off, I think we'll just set up a planning to the breakouts. You wanted to add something, Freeman?
I want to abuse your kindness. With the bucket head from UCT, I did not get the name. People are taking responsibility for this. I can interpret it in two ways. There's many other ways in between. The first one is they see that you are benefiting from this. They also want to benefit, so they take it onto their own shoulders.
First one.
The other one is they see you are benefiting and they think you'll continue doing it in a way that benefits you, and therefore they take it over. None of the two reasons, and there's many reasons in between, none of the two reasons make it the best solution. So working together, leveraging on the resources that we have as a sector is important. Therefore, in the plenaries, wherever, in one of the plenaries, maybe you might need to dig into this and figure out if there were problems of corruption. I'm not suggesting that they were. If there were perceptions even of corruption, how do we then design the system in a way that makes sure we are able to utilize all of the resources we have in this room in the service of our students, while ensuring that the system has got the integrity it requires to do so? I take the challenge that that suggestion is a sensible suggestion. We need to think about it seriously so that we leverage on the resources, but at the same time, can we then think about how do we do it in a way that enables that it's got integrity and can be trusted?
Thank you. I think that's a way forward. That's a way forward. President, are we ready to separate? We're pressing for time. Okay, I'm going to make an exception. I'm going to take one more, but then we're closing because we're running for time. I have to still divide you in commissions, and the tea is getting cold. I forgot about my friend. Mr. Sonti, you want to close this part. Please do so. I forgot about your apology. You did ask me earlier.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kali, and good morning to the rest of the colleague. Good morning to the administrator of NSFAS. So I chose to sit at the back today, Kali, so that I can raise questions as well.
No. Do so.
So I have a few things that I want us, I'm sitting there, administrator, I'm just thinking. So the theme of this, since yesterday, of this conference has been about collaboration. So now I'm sitting there, I'm like, now that NSFAS is in the house, we forgot about collaboration. We want to raise more issues to NSFAS, but nonetheless, I have a few things that I want to address. Very quickly, Kyle, I won't waste your time. So one thing that I've noticed, administrator, is that in terms of the system, I don't think colleagues seem to complain much about the system. Maybe it's the communication part in the system that needs to be strengthened a bit. Because I agree with you, Kali, there are certain things that at an institutional level, you can already tell even before it goes through a process that it might not succeed. But we just need to strengthen that a bit. And NSFAS is not the individuals at NSFAS. I mean, we're in a conference of financial aid practitioners. Financial aid practitioners. All of us here, we are NSFAS. All of us in this room, we are NSFAS. So we have a responsibility, Kali and President Jay with your collective, we have a responsibility of trying to assist and fix the system. I want to make an example, administrator. In my younger years when I was in SRC, I used to sit in an appeals committee of TUT. We used to get a lot of people that did not deserve funding through that appeals committee. We used to find ways of pushing university management to fund those people. So a system can be interpreted as good by one person, but the same system can be manipulated by the other person. So what we then need to find is mechanism into assisting the officials at NSFAS and the department on how to make the system better. It's that analogy of an aeroplane that is flying. It has a destination, but we need to fix it. One would swear, administrator, that out of the almost 1 million students that NSFAS funds, you'd assume that majority of those students are the ones are having issues, but majority of those students, NSFAS funds very well without any discrepancies. The discrepancies we might find in a very small number of those students. But I'm not saying they're immaterial, those discrepancies, but as a collective, we must be able to find ways in addressing them. I think we must also agree that part of this communication issue that we have, administrator, it must then speak to the issue of decentralization that I think everyone has been speaking about, the accessibility of NSFAS as well. You know, I'm asking a colleague at the back that if I have this servicing admin people from NSFAS, I don't need to call the call center. Why am I calling it? When NSFAS has deployed someone to my institution as a direct link. Now, yes, I hear you. I hear you. But the strategy moving forward as well is that students must be made aware of the NSFAS official responsible for the institution. Now,
Thank you.
Students must be made aware of the responsible officials. Now, that in itself will assist us a lot in terms of dealing with some of these issues that maybe the call center might not know how to deal with. We need to find mechanism. Instead of us saying, call center has a problem, probably we've all accepted there's a problem there. How do we then resolve it? How do we resolve that call center problem? Is decentralization a solution? If yes, then maybe let's then say, NSFAS, please work with speed to resolve the issue of decentralization, if that is a solution. But instead of saying, because there is a problem and you do not want to find any solutions, will not assist the system. But I want us to, in closing, Chair, I want us to speak on the issue that NSFAS is all of us who are here. This system is ours. We know it better than the administrator and some of the officials because we work on this system. It's our responsibility to fix that system, as I thank you.
Thank you, Sonji. Thank you for that. Colleagues, this is where I call it. I think I will go to the first part, and that will be, please, when you leave, visit our exhibitors and presenters at the back there. Make a turn there. Don't forget there. They've got some nice goodies there, that will support you in any way possible with your admin and so forth. Chat to them. Don't leave them out. Can I announce the fact that it's a tea break now in Tabasing? Okay, so before we go, can I just set up the arrangement for the commissions as well? And then we go out, and then from there we go straight to the different suites. Is that fine? So let me just give that to you. My apologies. Yeah. Colleagues, there's also a request that when you leave, straightforward, take all your stuff with you, because you're moving into those different commissions, on a continuous basis, and you're not going to remain here. And also take your valuables with you for all other reasons not mentioned here. So, commissions will be as follows, and I need you to pay attention. Suite 1 will be, and that's the one for eligibility criteria, policy framework, and we've added the loan scheme issue there as well. Rendell, I sent it to you, but I don't think the email went through because I wanted to just put it on the screen. The second one is Suite 2. That will be applications and appeals, and that stretch over 24-25. Am I correct? All right, so that's suite 2. And then suite 3, funding decisions, exceptions, remittances, and payments. That will be suite 3. And then suite 4 will be accommodation. I'm just going to quickly, while you display, I'm going to try and just send this part to Wendell. So I'm going to repeat it now again, colleagues. Let me just share it with him. So it's the eligibility criteria is 1. I'm going to repeat it. This is the part where my age become a problem. Suite 1 is eligibility criteria, policy framework, and the loan scheme related issues. We add to that suite 2, applications and appeals 24-25. Then suite 3 is funding decisions, exceptions, remittances, payments. And then suite 4, okay. Suite 4 then is accommodation. All right, where's the switch? Just right. Yeah, yeah. Colleagues, that's the reason why we ask you to step out. We're going to just divide. While you are having tea, we're going to set up the switch within this. Excuse me. Hello. Just ask the person next to you, are you listening? All right, what I wanted to say, I lost my train of thought. Colleagues, this will be becoming the commission venues. So we need you then to step out. Go. So it's going and loan scheme suite 1, applications appeals 24-25 suite 2, and then funding decision, exceptions, remittances and payments suite 3, and then suite 4 ultimately is the accommodation. So we will step out in an orderly fashion, take your goodies with you. Remember my bottle caps, the red bottle caps please. And then we'll have tea until 12, until we resume again. Thank you so much for your cooperation. And again, thank you, Freeman, for your contribution.